Hi, my name is Andy McCall and welcome to the second part of the ICDL Module 3 Word Processing Demo Lecture. And the first thing we're going to be looking at is Smart Art Objects. Now Smart Art Objects are available in the Insert tab just within the illustrations, so just located next to Pictures, Shapes and Smart Art is just there as well. To demonstrate this, I'm just going to open a new document because it is a large object. And the first thing you have to remember is when we're using a smart art object and we want to insert one, we have to ensure that we're placing the cursor in the position we want it to go to. So this is a blank canvas. We can just and be aware that it's going to be going there. So we're going to click insert and we're going to click smart art, and what we have is we have a host of options that are available to us. So process, smart art, graphics. For example, we have pyramids, relationships, cycles. The only one we want to be concentrating on is the hierarchy organization chart. So we click hierarchy and then we click organization chart and then we click OK. And this is a really cool feature that allows you to scope a organization, so the positions, the individuals that are in it, and the layers and the levels that they work on. So when you do insert it, it always defaults with a head of the organization, and it has an assistant, and you have 3 individuals underneath just here. What to remember as well though is that if we was to click out the smart art object, you will see none of these here control the smart art object. If I was to left click just anywhere in the just here, you'll see your design and your format for smart art tools is available to you. As it's been selected, these control this here. So we can left click in here in any of them and we can start putting a Smith head, and we could have J blogs as I don't know, team leader 1, for example. If we want to get rid of a person or a text box within the organization chart, what we can do is we can left click any outside so that only that one has been selected just there, and straightforward we can just press the delete key and it's gone for us. If we wanted to add an individual to the organization, if we want to place someone underneath, you'll see here we've got the head, which is A Smith, the head. We're going to left click, and in the design area to the right hand side, left hand side, sorry, we're going to add shape, and we go to add shape below, and there you are, it's added it underneath. You may be thinking, why is it not added it above this here? What this is this is an assistant object because it's pointing away in between. So if I was to remove this object, we would have the head and we'd have the objects underneath. If I was to left click the head, and if I was to go back to add shapes and add assistant, you'd have the assistant just there for you as well. So just to keep in mind that that is an assistant and that is a normal shape as well. You do also have the format options, so if you were to select the head one just here, or it could be any of them, in fact we'll do this one. We can do a shape fill, so you can have different colors, and we can also do a shape outline, very similar to what we were demonstrating with the shapes and the pictures on the previous video. So same sort of principle, and you can also start typing in G Henry, so another individual goes in there as well. So that's smart art objects. So let's go back into our Word demo. Next bit we're going to be looking at is tables. Tables is a really good feature in Word. It allows us to get a set of figures, objects, and describe it more clearly so the individuals that are reading it can see the data straight away without breaking it down through the paragraphs that would normally be on a normal Word document. To create a table, first of all, we want to know where the table is going, so we place our cursor into position, and then we go to table, and what we have is we have this grid just here, which allows us to decide how many rows we want and how many columns we want. And the maximum it go to is 10 by 8. What I would recommend though, if for your test, is using the insert table option underneath. And the reason why is because your question will be asking you to do a specific row in a specific column. And even though you may be comfortable and confident just select them just there, by all means, if you do feel it is correct, that's great. But for me, I'm a bit more, I want to be a bit more assured that I'm doing it right. So I'm going to click insert table. And it will say to there how many columns I want and how many rows. So if the question says 6 rows and 4 columns, and I click OK, There we are, everyone. It's created it just there for us. So that's our table available. Let's get rid of that. What you'll notice just underneath here, I've got an example. So there's a table here with 4 columns and 3 rows with some data in there. At the moment, none of these control this table. If I was to left click into any of the cells in the table, keep an eye just next to developer, and you'll see the table tools, design and layout as showed on the screen for us. These control specific certain areas in the table. First one we're going to look at is layout. Layout allows us to insert rows, columns, and also delete rows and columns as well. For example, I want to put a new column just to the right of Coventry. So I'll place my cursor just here, or I can select all the cells just there, and I can insert to the right. Or if I wanted to insert a row, I could insert the row underneath. You also don't need to highlight. I just use that as an example. You could just put a cursor there, and then you can just start inserting as we want as well, which is really handy. Or if we want to delete a row, we could select, go to delete, delete rows. Or if we wanted to delete the whole table, we could select, by selecting the box just at the top left hand corner, to select all cells, layout, delete table. One other point that a lot of people do sometimes find a bit difficult is selecting rows and columns in a table. As I was demonstrating, you can hold your left mouse button down on the first cell in a row and drag, or the top column and drag down there. But there's an easier way of doing it. If you place your mouse pointer just to the left of the row, it does it automatically. And it also is the same way with a column as well. Just get just before it, and then you can left click there. Quite straightforward and really quick to do. In the layout tab, you can also alter and change the width and the height of cells and rows and columns in your table. Let's take this one here, for example, this row. Go to layout, let's change the width here, and you'll see I'm changing the width, but it'll only change if it's been selected, so just be aware that you must ensure that what you're changing is selected. Let's change the height of a row, select all those cells, and there we are, making it much more bigger for us to insert more text if needed. Let's pull it back to normal. In the design tab, we can also apply shading to cells, so we're going to select the first ones on the top row. Let's apply blue, and we can also change the border in a a table too. So what we do is we need to select the table in question. So you can select just there by all the cells. We can go to borders, not borders in home, borders in the design tab for table tools, borders and shading, and it works the same way as it would do with normal text in the document, but the difference is that you have the outside border of a table, but you also have the borders inside the table as well. So I'm going to ensure that we're doing all the borders. I'm going to change the color to a green sort of color, and I'm going to make it a bit more wider, the width. Keep in mind, as well as I did state previously on the previous videos, whatever a question is asking you the specific size or the specific color, please ensure that you do select the ones that it's asking you. Do not lose points on areas that you know that you're confident with, but it's because of a selection phase that you're missing out on. So click OK, and there we are, everyone. We've got our table borders, and if we wanted to adjust, if we're not too satisfied with that, we can go back in once again, select borders, borders and shading, and we can just change our color. Get one a bit more stronger, make it a bit more smaller, the width, or we could even add some style as well, make it a bit more appealing to the eye, and there we are. All available to you in design and layout. Just keep in mind that you don't get struggle in your test that if you're trying to change something in your table and you're looking here, the reason why you can't find anything to change it is because you haven't selected inside the cell or all the table that you're wanting to bring up your table tools. Finally, we're going to be looking at the review tab in this video, which is just placed in between the mailings and the view tabs at the top of your Word application. In the ribbon for the review tab, most of the options you aren't going to be needing to use in this syllabus. So from all up from inside all the way down to protect. Please ignore all those. The only two you really need to be aware of is the word count and the spelling and grammar, everyone. So the first one is the word count. So if I was to left click the word count, what it does is it scans the whole of your document and provides you how many words and characters with spaces and without spaces that are in your document. Very handy, particularly if yourselves are writing an assignment and you have to meet a specific word count criteria. So it's good to that you're on track, or if you're needing to add a bit more or delete more texts just to meet what's expected of you there as well. Handy tool, instead of years and years ago having to count manually through all of them. Then we've also got the spelling and grammar just on the left hand side. If we left click the spelling and grammar, what it does, it comes up to the right hand side and it will scan your document for any spelling errors that the dictionary that's built into Microsoft Word has found. And what it does, it finds the error. So the first one here has been highlighted, MNIMUM, and it gives you suggestions of what to change. So we notice that that is incorrect, so we can click change, and then it moves to the next one. So we've got thirds, reservations, marketings, and you'll notice goddesses and canopic jars, so it's got a capital letter there. And you'll see just here all around the tombs were found usabi. That may be regarded as an incorrect word, everyone, or it may be regarded as a correct word as well. So what we would do is we could ignore that, and you'll also see there's also a word for a city that this street is on, so we could ignore that as well. And it still continues through, so you'll go change, and you go to change, and then finally, once it's identified and it's looked at any anomalies in the document, once it's been confirmed it's been corrected or it's been ignored, you'll get a prompt saying spelling and grammar is complete. Please be aware that when you're doing this, if you're asked to do this in your test, make sure that you complete the steps. Don't go halfway through and then just come out and just decide, oh, I've done the spelling and grammar, that's it. The test will expect you to complete every error that's in the document, so don't lose points unnecessarily. Make sure that you do finish off the steps. It's quite a straightforward process to do, but just be aware of that. Okay, so we click OK, it's done. But as we pointed out before, there may be a word that you know that is correct, but the word applications dictionary still bring it up as incorrect. So for instance, I could say software just there is another abbreviation to something else, and it's pointed it as a incorrect word because the red line's underneath. What I can do is I can right click and I can add it to the dictionary. Really straightforward. Right click, add to the dictionary, and then next time the spelling and grammar comes up, it won't find it. If I was to Control Z to undo it added to dictionary, and if I do spelling and grammar, you'll see it's highlighted it and it's asked me to ignore or necessarily make the change as well. So to add a word to a dictionary that's incorrect, you right click, add to dictionary as well. And the first thing we're going to look at is the view tab options. So just next to review, so we click view. The first thing we'll have is we have the zoom option. So in terms of how we visually see the document on screen, we can change the zoom features, which is also available to you down here, but I want you to ignore that there. So if we were to click zoom just in here, click zoom, and it allows us to zoom to 200, 100, 75. However, in your test, it's very important to be aware that you may be asked for a specific percent of what the document needs to be zoomed to. And as I stated before, the reason why I want you to ignore the zoom option at the bottom right is because if it was to ask you to say a percentage in your test, let's say 83%, click 83, and it will zoom a bit out. In fact, it will put it to multiple screens if wished. But if we were to try to do it with this here, with the plus, it's very difficult to actually get. You'll be there for quite a while and you want to spend more time on other questions. All you need to do is go to zoom, and then we can change it to, let's say, 125. And there we are, everyone. That's the zoom feature, all available to us just there as well. We've also got the page layout option, which we've just clicked here, which allows us to position our text and our object more clearly as aligned with the images and any other objects we've got in the document as well. We also have the read mode, which will limit the options available to us at the top, so there's no editing options in particular, and we can go left to right to changing what we need to do to see a specific page. Then we also click the Edit Document option, which takes us back to the print layout which we were in previously. And then what we can also do is we can click the Outline option just here. Click Outline, and what it does, it displays our text, our paragraphs and tables as points just here, so that we can easily edit text without worrying about positioning and layout features with images or even smart art objects as well. So it's something to be aware of. Got that. And to close the outline view, you can click the X, close outline view, and just be aware that when you are in your test that it's asking for quick editing. You can also use the outline just to be assured that it's that option there as well. You may have seen previously in the video when we were doing the tab demonstration in the second video, we were also showing you how it was aligned, the tabs were to the ruler. It's really straightforward to bring up the ruler onto your Word application. So you go once again to the View tab, and then just to where the Show section is, you can left click Ruler, and there we are, have the ruler available to you. And on the grey areas it shows you your left and right margins, and any tab marks that have been inserted into the document will also show there as well, which is really good feature and also to always have it enabled as well. Just coming outside of the view, just a few little tips navigating with your text, which is really quite good. So if we were using any of these texts just here, so you see you've got a word as view and you've got tab there. If I wanted to get to the tab word just to the right, I would normally left click just before it or after it, or I would use my arrow keys on my keyboard to go to it. However, if you were to hold Control and right with your key, it'll automatically take you to the next word, which is a really good feature to quickly and allows you to edit without pressing your arrow key as multiple times, because it can get quite tedious when you're doing that as well. Another good feature is if you were to hold the Control button and press G on your keyboard, we also have the Go To feature, which is really handy if you have a document of quite a large volume of pages and text, and you want it to go to a specific page. So if I wanted to go to page, let's say page 2, I can click Go To, and it'll automatically take me to page 2, which is going through that point there as well. So you've got the top, that bit there, which is really handy. So Go To, so Control G, let's go back to page 9. And it'll start right at page 9 where we were just at that point there as well. So it's a really good option to use too. Next tab we're going to be looking at is the Layout tab. So if we just go in between Design and References, once again we're not using Design References in this syllabus, so we're going to click Layout. And what we have is we have a whole set of options just here in the paragraph section and the page setup section just there. So we can click the margins. Now the margins will give us some custom margins that we can pre-select from, but we may be asking our test to only edit a left margin or a right margin or the top or the bottom margin. It may be different scenarios, but to whatever which one it is, you would click the custom margins, not the custom margins above, the custom margins right at the bottom just there. And that will allow me to change the left, right, top, down margins. So if you'll notice the left margin just here is around about 3 centimeters just there. Let's change it to 4 centimeters. And you'll notice, there we are, you'll notice the difference that has happened just there. So it's really goes and does it straight when you need to. Another easy one is orientation. So normally it's a portrait orientation with a document, but you can change it to a landscape. Really straightforward. Does layout, orientation, landscape, and it does that there for you. Another one that you will highly get in your test as well. You can also change the size, the paper size that you're using. So most printers will be A4 paper, but you may be expected or asked to do a document, a letter, or even a smaller piece of work that needs to be done. So you could even decrease the size of the paper to an A5, make it a bit more smaller. And we'll see that. And another good feature, which is columns, which really gives your document a bit more of a character with the text that's around it. So if you look at this paragraph just here, if we were to select the paragraph and we were to click columns, we could also change the columns to 2 just there. So even though we're typing away, it will go to the other side just there as well. Really handy feature that you can bring some character to a piece of text that may just be sitting there, but you might want to add a picture. You've got your columns there. But once again, just remember that to apply it, you must select the text there as well. Really important. Another interesting and really useful feature is the page breaks option. So for years and years previously, I was always, before I was given this knowledge, to create a new page on a document, I would always keep on pressing enter. Now if I was to show my marks here, you'll see when I press enter several times, it comes onto the next page. But what I don't want to do is keep on doing that, and I just want to immediately, after this paragraph, go on to a brand new page. So to do that, you can go to Layout, Breaks, Page Break. And then you aren't allowed to type in anything on that page after this, and then you'll go straight to the next page just there. Really handy. You can also do it by holding, you can place your cursor, the cursor where you want it, hold your control key and press enter, and it'll also do it there as well. Big one though that causes a lot of issue with a lot of individuals when they first see it, but they do get confident once they know correctly how to do it, is how to delete a page break. Very important to delete the page breaks is that you must have the show and hide on to see page breaks. I've seen a lot of people scattering around looking for it and they can't find it, and that's because the page break isn't on. So we enable the page break. We've got two here. Now I've got it just before, place my cursor and I press the delete key. Place at the beginning, press the delete key, and that removes the page break for you so it's not there. Really, really useful option in terms of managing and actually using a bit of common sense instead of pressing your enter key all the time just to get a new page. Also, we've got the hyphenation option, which is really useful. So if we've got a word that is not able to fill onto one line and you want to make sure that half of it is available on one part and then the next bit, we can apply automatic hyphenation. So keep an eye on this paragraph, just this area just here. And if we go back to layout, hyphenation, automatic, and you'll see the internal is now half of it, and it's also got a hyphenation just here, and it's got the rest on the next page, the next sentence underneath. If I was to remove hyphenation, it will make sure that the word is always intact. But if you do want it to go onto another page, you can apply it just by going to layout, hyphenation, and automatic just there. Really simple, and it also applies it to the whole document as well. So it's not just that paragraph, and you don't have to select paragraph to do it as well. And then finally, printing area with Word, Microsoft Word. This is the same location you would go for the other applications that you may be using later in the ECDL. So we're going to go to File, Print. And what it does with print is it will allow you to have the print preview on the right hand side of what the pages will look like. Previous versions of Microsoft Word would ask you to press the print preview button. What we've got now is the preview on the right hand side, which is really handy. We also have how many copies we want to be printed. That's the copies, how many copies of the whole document that you're selecting. If you wanted specific pages, you could select and type in the numbers you wanted. So if I just wanted 2, and I do a comma and then 4, it would only print 2 and 4. If it's blank, it would be all of them. This is where we also select our printer. So we've got several printers available for us. And finally, we've got the print button, which is just there as well. So once that's pressed print, it will send it to the printer queue, and when it's ready, it will print out for us as well. Just at the end of the document, you'll see the area which is called Mail Merge. Just to briefly explain what Mail Merge does is it allows you to take a list of names and additional information of an individual and bring it into your document. So instead of writing a letter, for example, for one person, the letter can be written and then you can add the names and their addresses or any information like a telephone number into your document. So once you've completed the Mail Merge, it will be able to produce the same letter but for several individuals that are from the data source. All the steps are just underneath on the document for your future reference as well, so you can go through all those. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you the steps using the mail merge folder that is available to you either on Aula or on your W drive that we mentioned in the first video to download. So if we were to go into the mail merge folder, what we have here is we have a mail merge job interview letter, and we also have interviews as well. If I just double click into the document just here, what we'd have done is we've written a letter which is a ICDL officer interview confirmation to an individual. So what we can do is we need to insert our mail merge source straight away. And the first thing you have to be aware of is that of all these tabs, the only one you need to be aware of is mailings just here. So click mailings, and we get into the ribbon of the mailings tab. You'll see everything excluding these areas here are all grayed out. So first of all, what we want to do is we want to ensure that we're going to start a mail merge, and we're going to set it as a letter. So you'll see it's now been highlighted, just the icon with letters. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select recipients. What select recipients is we're adding the data source into our mail merge. So we're going to click select recipients. We're going to use an existing list. And if I go to the mail merge folder, and you'll see we've got interviews just there. If I click open, immediately it will say select table. So for ours, it's only one worksheet just on the spreadsheet. So we're going to click OK. And now, once that's done, you'll see all the icons on the ribbon have now been made available to us, which means that we have inserted our data source into the document, and now we're able to insert our merge fields of where they need to go in the correct place. Just before we do that, if you were to click Edit Recipient List, it will show you from our spreadsheet file that we brought in, we've got 3 individuals just here, and you'll see we've got a last name, first name, a city, we have a first address, postcode, and also a date and time of when their interview is. So if we just start just here, if we were to go any of these paragraph marks, we can place our cursor. We can also take this off, it doesn't really affect the steps. So we place our cursor just here, and we go back into mailings, and then we can insert merge field, and we can insert our first name. Now because the merge fields are representing the person's, for instance, the first name, what we would do is we press the space bar because we want the space in between, and then we click insert merge field, and we put last name as well. Then what we can do is we can go to the next line, and we can insert first address, and we can go to the line underneath, we can go to city, we can also put a comma if we wanted to, and we can also add the postcode as well. Then what we can do is just in the content of the letter, you'll see that you are invited to attend an interview at Coventry University for the post ICDL officer. The interview is being scheduled on, so we're going to place our cursor just here, and we're going to click date, and then you'll see at, and we've got a space just in between, and we're going to click time just there. So all our merge fields have been added. So we've got first name, last name, first address, city, postcode, and we've also added the date and the time field there as well. So what we can finally do, and you may see this in your test, it may ask you to complete and finish a mail merge. We could click finish a merge, and I'm going to click edit individual documents just there. And then you're going to finally click all, click OK, and keep an eye on the document. It's created a brand new document, and it's added the first individual, and if we go down, so keep going down, there's the second person, and there's our third person there, and all the information. So the 12th of the 7th 2016 at 3 PM was this individual's interview, at 2 PM and at 1 PM as well. And that, what it does when you finish the mail merge, it creates the documents into a brand new file, letters 1 just there, and then what you can do is you can save that as normal, file, save as, we could go into the mail merge folder, and we can just call it ICDL interview letters as well. So just to recap what we've just gone through is we've inserted the recipients, we've also selected beforehand the letters, we've added the merge fields, and we've also added the date and time fields of when and what day their interview is. Before you were to do the finish and merge, there is a good little handy tool that you can use, which is if you click preview results, it does allow you to go through your sources before you finish and merge and create it into a new document. But be careful with that, because if you're asked in your tests to finish the mail merge and complete, bring them all together, it's always the finish and merge, edit individual letters, and you're clicking your OK there as well.